So I'm just doing another quick video about this bag. I just came back from a trip and I wanted to talk about talk a little bit about what the reality versus my expectations were with this bag after having actually traveled with it, because I did do a brief video on it before, but I didn't have any stuff in it. Kind of just showed off the compartments and what I expected it to be to be like having this bag. But now that I've actually traveled with it, there have been, my opinions of it have changed slightly, and I wanted to go over that real quick. Okay, so this is kind of just a quick reminder of what comes with the bag. You get your toiletry case, and then you also get a laptop sleeve. And this is what I'm comparing it to, because this is what I used to travel with. Now this bag is about 22.5 inches long. Once you've got stuff in it, because it kind of bulges out a little bit at the side because of the weight of the stuff that you have in it. So just shy of 2 feet. This is what I used to use to travel, and believe it or not, I was actually able to put a lot of stuff in this. I just had to be very organized about how I packed what I was bringing. I've been able to bring about 8 t-shirts and like 3 pairs of pants. We're talking like jeans and like jumpers. I did bring a pair of shoes once, but they were like flat shoes for just kind of like walking. They weren't really like dressy or anything like that. They were just kind of casual walking shoes, and they were very thin, so I was able to fit them in the bottom of the bag. And I put some toiletries in like a Ziploc bag, and then I was good to go. But it was always super full, and as a result of that, I had the zipper tear on me. And it's super lightweight because of the material that it's made out of, which is another thing that I like. Counts as a personal item when you're traveling, which is another thing that I really liked about it. So I didn't have to worry about checking a bag or paying for a carry-on or anything like that. So I was able to just throw it underneath my seat. So those were the benefits. The downside is that I was never able to bring, a blazer or dress shoes or anything like that. So, sorry about my finger. Whenever I was traveling, I usually wasn't expecting to do anything that required me to wear that kind of attire. And it is nice to know that you have the option to bring that kind of attire with you, should you want to, in the event that you are planning on doing something that might necessitate you wearing that kind of clothing. So just to kind of also show you, so those were the drawbacks of this. Is this, obviously its size. So because of its size, it's definitely going to have a little bit more weight to it. And excuse me, I'm getting over a cold still. The material that this is made out of, it's like a fake leather, but it's not going to crack or scratch. I took it with me and kind of beat it up a little bit as I was driving around through the airport, and it doesn't peel or anything like that like a lot of the fake leather does. One of the things that I also like about the snaps on the bag is that they're actually, the buckle's just there for decoration, but it's actually magnetic, so it's really easy to close back up again. And you can hear the snap on there, so you know it's closed. I didn't pack anything in here because it was already pretty full and pretty bulgy, and I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to bring it as a personal item on the plane. And I was afraid that if I put anything more in these compartments, it would bulge out even more. And sometimes when you're at the airport, they want to make sure that it'll be considered a personal item, and they'll have you shove it in that metal bin to make sure it meets the requirement of a personal item. And when I initially got it, because I hadn't put anything in there, I thought, oh yeah, it'll be thin enough that it won't be a problem. But once I actually filled it up, I was a little bit concerned, excuse me, that it would not be considered a personal item and that I'd have to basically consider it a carry-on and I'd get charged for it. However, I think it is small enough. Nobody asked me to check it and make sure that it was that it fit the requirements of a personalized item. When I got to the airport, when I was taking off, excuse me, they let me right on through, no questions asked, didn't have to pay anything extra. Now, this bag, honestly, I'm going to be honest, I flew Spirit. I don't think it would have fit under my seat. I think it would have been a tight squeeze and it would have been a little bit uncomfortable because of the size. But I was able to put it in the overhead bin or the overhead compartment and nobody said anything about it and they were okay with it. I was flying early in the morning, so I think everybody was just like, let's just get wheels up and get out of here. So nobody was really being strict about any of the rules. As long as everything fit and everybody had space for their stuff, they were okay with it. Now, on the way back, it was a similar situation. I was flying a little bit later, still in the morning. Nobody said anything to me about it not being personal, it being too big or anything like that. The other thing is because of the material that this is made out of, the material it's made out of does give it a little bit more weight. Even when it's empty, you can feel a definite difference in the weight between this bag and that bag. And this definitely has a little bit more weight to it. So when it's full, you're definitely going to notice. And this strap is really nice. I mentioned earlier that I would have preferred that they got a faux leather material all the way through in the strap. But obviously for cost reasons, they just went with the nylon, and this is meant to be a little extra padding for your shoulder when you're carrying it. And I'm going to be honest, it was a little bit uncomfortable when it was full. I actually brought my laptop, which I don't normally do because I don't usually have a lot of space for it, and I don't want this thing taking up space. Even though it's super thin, I don't want it in there because I want to have as much room for clothing as possible because I was usually traveling with that. Excuse me. And that being said, I was able to fit it in there, but it was a tight squeeze with the laptop and the toiletry bag in there and all of my stuff. This also has a compartment for shoes, and that is also another drawback, even though it is also a plus. So even though I am able to bring an extra pair of shoes with me, I brought a pair of dress shoes, a pair of loafers. They do take up space when they are in that compartment. So you are going to lose a bit of space for clothing when your shoes are in there. And I'm not super tall, so if you're about 5'9" or taller, your shoes are definitely going to take up a lot more space in there. And you're going to notice that you're not going to be able to travel with as many items as you could if you didn't bring them. So it has its drawbacks, being able to bring your shoes with it. It also comes with a garment bag. As I mentioned earlier, I was actually able to pack a full suit, slacks, dress shirt, and a suit coat, and 2 ties, because it has a compartment for ties as well, which I appreciated. And the only thing is, though, is that my shirt still came out kind of wrinkled. So I still did have to iron it, but it wasn't like super bad. It wasn't like deep wrinkles or anything like that. So keep that in mind. Your clothes are still going to get slightly wrinkled. So hopefully the hotel that you're at will have an ironing board and iron. Most hotels that I've been to do. Even some motels will have a really cheap iron. So hopefully it won't be too much of a problem for most of the travelers that would like to purchase this bag. Again, my biggest complaint about it is the weight once it's got stuff in there. See, I had to use a little bit of force to get it off the ground. But I still like the bag. I still like the color. The other thing that I don't like about it is when you've got it full, it's not that easy to actually close the bag. I had to wrestle with it a little bit. Not anything too crazy, but I did have to, you know, it doesn't zip up super easy once you've got stuff in there. And as you can see, I've got a decent amount of stuff. I'm going to pause here real quick so I can take it out. All right, so I'm going to start from left to right. I had this hoodie. It's actually pretty thick, so I didn't pack it in the bag. I actually ended up just carrying it. And I was traveling from Florida to Ohio, and at the time of this trip, it was in the mid-50s in the mornings and evenings, but during the afternoons, it got kind of warm, like in the upper 60s, low 70s. So I was fine with this. And I brought 2 shirts for my younger brothers that I was going to give them, but they couldn't make it, and they forgot to notify me, so I ended up bringing those, which took up some space. Excuse me. These are a couple of shirts, t-shirts, and the reason why they're in here is because they're dirty, and I didn't have access to a washer machine. And I knew I wouldn't, so I actually brought these. I bought these plastic bags on Amazon separately, and they're actually shoe bags for your shoes so that you can put them in your luggage and it doesn't dirty your clothing. And I figured it'd be a good way to keep my dirty clothes from stinking up everything else in the bag. Here are some more t-shirts and like a thin hooded short sleeve shirt and more t-shirts, undergarments and socks, 2 undershirts, white. I didn't know if we were gonna have a chance to do some casual athletic stuff, like maybe just tossing around a ball or playing soccer. So I brought some track pants, and there's a shirt that I wore, a t-shirt that I wore with it in here somewhere, and I wore this on my way to and from the airport. It's cargo pants. They're it's kind of like a jumper or a joggers. I'm sorry. So I was able to put my headphone case in there with my phone, and my phone has like a it's not a MagSafe case, but it's like a MagSafe case, so I was able to attach my wallet to the back of my phone. And I also brought 2 pairs of jeans and a towel. The reason why I brought a towel was because there was actually a couple of family members that were coming, and my older brother said that he might not have enough guest towels for everybody, so I brought my own. This is actually very thin towel, quick drying, very soft. So I brought this instead of the standard plushy towels that I didn't want to take up too much space in my luggage, and I felt that would be the best option. And I did end up using it, not just to shower, but we ended up having a water balloon fight just randomly out of nowhere. And I ended up using the track pants and obviously the towel for that, and also on a daily basis when I would shower and dry off. I did not need to bring these, and they took up a little bit of space. So just, you know, one of those kind of situations where you do have the option of packing more than what you normally would pack in like a standard small size duffel bag like you saw that I had. And most people would appreciate that because they'd rather overpack than underpack, you know, kind of one of those situations where you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it type of situation. So then there's also my loafers. This you already saw. And then some socks, more socks. And I kept them in this compartment here. And then there was this beanie that I never actually got to use. And a baseball cap, which I wore, so it did not get packed. There's also a set of sunglasses in here, which I actually didn't end up using because I had actually left a pair of sunglasses, my favorite pair of sunglasses, at my older brother's place previously, and he still had them, so I ended up using those on the trip. And then the two ties, and then I had chapstick in here, but I moved it to one of the outside compartments just because I was using it right before I got on the plane, and I just threw it on there. So as you can see, I also brought this because it went with one of the outfits I was wearing. So I wore that one day. And then there's the suit. The hanger broke. So, but I have dress shirt, suit jacket, and the suit pants. So the one thing, obviously you have to fold your suit pants in order to get them to fit in the garment bag. So they are going to get, you know, that crease in them from where you folded them over the hanger. So you are going to want to be able to iron that out. So just keep that in mind. You do need an iron with this garment bag. It's not like you can just throw it in there and it'll be completely protected. There are going to be some light wrinkles that you're going to want to get out. But I wasn't able to. I thought I'd have a lot more room in the bag, but because it kind of like a triangle shape, it makes it difficult to carry too much stuff, especially if you have your shoes taking up space in the bag. So keep that in mind. If you're bringing an extra pair of shoes, your shoes will take up space, so you need to plan accordingly and realize that you're not going to be able to take as many outfits as you had originally thought that you were going to be able to take with this bag if you're bringing shoes. I also wanted to show the toiletry bag. Because I was wearing a suit and tie, this is not Altoids. I actually have, see if I can pop it open, tie clips in here. Didn't know which one I was going to want to wear. I have two different ties, so I was probably going to use one tie clip with one tie, use a different tie clip with another, but I didn't know which ones I was going to bring, so I just brought them all just so I could have options. Deodorant, travel size toothbrush, the rest of it is in there. It is a electric toothbrush. I also did put my keys in here, like my car keys and stuff, because I didn't really need them. We rented a like a little SUV, so we could get around while we were out there, and didn't need my keys. They were just kind of going to be taking up space in my pocket, and I didn't want them in there, so I just threw them in the toiletry bag. And then The other thing about traveling with your laptop is that most security will ask you to remove the laptop from your bag when you're going through security. So when you pack this, it is the last thing you should pack. It should be on top of everything, which is what I did, which makes it a little bit uncomfortable to close. You still are able to close it. You don't like have to force it or feel like you're about to break anything. It will close. It'll just be a little bit of effort, a little bit more effort than you expected. And the reason why you're going to want to put it on top is so that you can get to it easily, pull it out, and not disturb all the rest of your stuff in there that you've neatly organized and packed. If you have it at the bottom, which it would make sense to do, you're going to need to like really dig for it, try to pull it out there. You may even have to literally open it up, unzip everything just to get at it. And then it'll be really annoying to zip it back up when you've got people standing behind you in line waiting to go through security. So pack that last, like I did. It was very helpful to do that. I actually held it in my hand while I was going to the check-in, and then once I went through security, I put it in the bag, and obviously I couldn't put it at the bottom. I just put it at the top. When I was coming back, it was in the bag, but I had it on top so that I could easily pull it out and let security do what they needed to do, so that I was able to get through security quicker. So just a little travel tip for those of you that like to travel with electronics. Normally, I don't bring my laptop. On this trip, there was something that I needed to do that I needed my laptop for, so I brought it. And I appreciate the fact that it was big enough for me to bring. It would have been a little bit more comfortable had I not needed to bring it. There would have been a little bit more space up at the top. It would have been a little bit easier to close up. And I normally don't bring dress shoes for most of the trips that I take. This is very rare that I'll need to be able to do that. I appreciate the fact that I have the option to do that. But next 2 or 3 trips that I can think of that I intend to take, I won't need them. So it'll be a little bit easier to pack and to get stuff in there, and even pack more than what I anticipated bringing than if I had shoes in there. So just keep that in mind. The shoes do take up space. But it's great to have both the garment and the shoe compartment option available. I've seen some bags that are a little bit more expensive than this that have a dedicated compartment that doesn't take up space. I think it's because of the way that they built the bag. At the bottom, there's like an extra layer specifically for the shoes, which is I thought that's kind of how they were going to do this, but the shoe compartment actually goes into the rest of the compartment, the main compartment, which I find annoying. I would have appreciated if they would have maybe put sort of maybe raised the bottom of the bag a little bit and used a little bit of that space on the bottom for the shoe compartment. That would have been best, kind of like I've seen with a lot of the other travel bags like this. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking of purchasing this bag, it's pretty inexpensive. It's really affordable. Good quality material. It looks nice. So for the price, I'm not complaining. It's just a little thing that I feel could use improvement. Don't have the shoe compartment intrude into the main compartment. Make a separate compartment underneath the main compartment for the shoes. That would be the smart thing to do. Excuse me, guys. Clear my throat a lot here. The other thing that I like about this bag is that I didn't mention in the first video is it's got these nice rivets at the bottom for when you put your bag down. Just gives it a little bit more of a quality touch to it. So you don't have to worry about the bottom of your bag coming into immediate contact with the ground. It is gonna sort of rub up against it and touch up against it every once in a while, but it's nice to know that it's not going directly on there and touching all the dirty airport floor. You know what I mean? So anyway, I hope this helped.